Shocking mobile phone video shows some of the heartbreaking final moments for a South Korean passenger ferry as it sinks. The teenagers were slow to grasp the true danger.
April 16, 2014, hundreds of high school students boarded the Sewol ferry, excited for a long-awaited field trip. But within hours, their world turned upside down, literally. What followed was a series of desperate, heartbreaking messages recorded by the victims themselves. Here are 6 disaster victims who captured their final moments.
Welcome to Giglio, Italy. It was exactly 1 week ago at 9:30 at night that approximately 4,200 people lived through their own Poseidon adventure when their cruise ship hit the rocks. They were on the Costa Concordia.
At the night of January 13, 2012, started like any other Mediterranean cruise evening. Passengers dressed in their finest for dinner, laughter echoing through opulent halls. But everything changed in an instant when the Costa Concordia struck the Scally Rocks near Giglio Island. The ship's massive hull was torn open, water flooding in, and chaos erupting on board. Aboard the vessel, over 4,200 people, tourists, honeymooners, and families, found themselves trapped in a nightmare. Darkness descended as the ship lost power, its hull groaning and tilting alarmingly. Panic spread as announcements first downplayed the situation, then abruptly instructed everyone to their muster stations. The lifeboats, designed for orderly evacuation, became scenes of terror. Ropes snapped, mechanisms jammed, and in one haunting moment, a lifeboat got stuck while being lowered. Passengers inside screamed as it swung dangerously, some filming with shaking hands, while others pleaded to stop recording and help instead. In the chaos, some crew members tried to maintain order, urging passengers to sit and reassuring them that, if it falls, nothing happens. But as the ship listed further, these reassurances rang hollow.
Call to freak out people.
Call, yes, but no, but we need to call before they see it. Kathy! Kathy! Kathy!
As survivors reached shore, the true scale of the disaster became clear. A crowd of dazed passengers in bright orange life vests huddled together near a red lighthouse, some frantically searching for missing loved ones. The emotional toll was immediate and profound. One survivor, voice trembling, expressed disbelief.
I didn't even realize that this is actually happening right now. This will hit me later. All of our stuff is on it. We are off of it.
Another simply repeated,
This is not happening. Not happening. I just hope we don't hit a rock.
as their lifeboat approached shore. When dawn broke, the full horror was visible. The Costa Concordia lay broken and listing, its once proud superstructure now a twisted monument to human error and failure. Survivors stared in disbelief at the capsized ship, realizing how close they had come to death. Amidst the chaos, stories of heroism emerged, crew members risking their lives to help passengers, locals rushing to assist, and strangers becoming lifelong friends in those desperate hours. But alongside these acts of courage were tales of failure, lifeboats that wouldn't launch, safety systems that malfunctioned, and crucial minutes lost to confusion and miscommunication.
Italian rescue teams searching for dozens of missing people more than a day after a cruise ship capsized have made voice contact.
The rescue operation became one of the largest in maritime history. Helicopters hovered above the listing ship, searchlights piercing the darkness as rescuers searched for survivors trapped inside. Incredibly, some were found alive more than 24 hours after the disaster began, including a South Korean honeymoon couple rescued from their cabin and a crew member with a broken leg. But not everyone made it out. 32 people lost their lives, some trapped in their cabins, others swept away in the chaos. The youngest victim was just 5 years old. Their final moments were captured in desperate phone calls, text messages, and videos that now serve as haunting reminders of that night. As the immediate crisis passed, attention turned to the captain. Francesco Schettino became the focus of national outrage. He was accused of abandoning ship before all passengers were evacuated. Recorded calls between Schettino and the Coast Guard revealed his refusal to return to the vessel, despite orders to do so. The now famous directive, "Get back on board, damn it," became a symbol of his failure and a rallying cry for justice. Schettino's actions, or lack thereof, were scrutinized in court. His defense claimed he was a scapegoat, but the evidence, including video footage showing him abandoning ship while 300 people remained on board, was damning. In 2015, he was convicted of manslaughter and abandoning ship and sentenced to 16 years in prison. The aftermath of the disaster was felt far beyond Giglio Island. The environmental threat loomed large, with 500,000 gallons of fuel needing to be carefully extracted to prevent an ecological catastrophe. The salvage operation became the most expensive in history, ultimately costing over $1.2 billion. But the most lasting impact was psychological. Survivors struggled with trauma, families mourned lost loved ones, and the cruise industry faced a reckoning. New safety regulations were implemented, evacuation procedures revised, and the culture of complacency that had allowed such a disaster to occur was finally challenged.
Then extract the fuel once it's heated. Anti-pollution booms have been laid between the wreck and the shoreline, but local residents whose whole way of life is under threat are worried it won't be enough.
To the final moments captured by victims, through video, audio, and written messages stand as powerful testimony to the human cost of preventable tragedy. Their voices, preserved in those chaotic recordings, continue to echo a simple truth. Safety must never be taken for granted, and leadership in crisis is judged not by words, but by actions.
We were struck today by heartbreaking new videos from the ferry disaster off South Korea. In this one, trapped passengers are seen through the windows desperately trying to break the windows to escape. Rescuers just outside could do nothing as the ship sank.
On April 16th, high school juniors who were students from Danwon High School in Ansan, South Korea, were involved. They were on a field trip to Jeju Island, and what should have been a memorable adventure became a national tragedy. It started with chaos. The cabin was tilted, belongings slid across the floor. The students panicked in confusion as they struggled to understand what was happening. Then, over the ship's loudspeaker, a calm but deadly serious voice instructed,
Do not move from your current location and be prepared for a dangerous situation.
This was the first warning that something was terribly wrong. The students began to realize the seriousness of their situation. Some struggled to put on life jackets, while others nervously joked. A student, possibly the one filming, quietly said,
Mom, I love you. Dad, I love you. I love you both.
The ship's loudspeaker continued to instruct them to remain in place, while the students began recording messages to their families, expressing love and fear in what might have been their final moments.
Students are seen huddled below deck. Some wonder aloud if they'll make the news and what the captain's doing.
The tilt was severe, making it nearly impossible to move. The camera captured their fear, confusion, and the desperate attempts to follow instructions. Outside, the rescue operation was underway, but time was running out. The ship's list became so severe that escape was almost impossible for those trapped inside. The students were seen struggling to maintain balance, some desperately trying to move, while others clung to hope. The cabin was filled with the sounds of panic and fear. A student cried out that they needed more life jackets. The chaos and desperation were overwhelming as they realized the gravity of their situation. The ship's final moments were filled with confusion, panic, and a sense of helplessness. The students, following instructions to stay put, were trapped as the ship sank further.
엄마 사랑해요. 아빠 사랑해요. 둘 다 사랑해.
A disturbing video has emerged of the final moments of some of the high school students on board the South Korean passenger ferry that sank 2 weeks ago.
The Sewol ferry disaster became a national tragedy, with over 300 lives lost, most of them students. The footage captured by the students themselves provided a heartbreaking window into their final moments. highlighting the fatal consequences of blind obedience and failed leadership. The video ended abruptly, leaving behind a haunting reminder of the students' final moments and the catastrophic failure that led to their deaths. This incident served as a powerful testament to the importance of clear emergency protocols and the devastating consequences of failed leadership. The students' final messages and the tragedy that unfolded aboard the Sewol ferry continue to resonate, serving as a somber reminder of the human cost of disaster.
Let's just bring you a bit of breaking news coming in from Scotland Yard following the Grenfell Tower fire. They're now saying that around 80 people are dead or missing and presumed dead.
June 14th, 2017, in Grenfell Tower, West London. The fire was spreading up the building, but Rania, her 2 young daughters, and her neighbor Isra were still in their 23rd floor flat.
الله لا إله إلا الله في حريق في العمارة لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم يا الله.
The night air outside was thick with the sounds of sirens and screams. But inside, Rania's world was shrinking. Smoke began to seep from under the door, and desperate banging echoed through the corridor. Someone was outside, another neighbor maybe, or a firefighter. But opening the door risked letting in even more deadly smoke. She turned to Facebook Live. If she couldn't reach help, maybe someone else would see their situation. The camera panned to the window, showing orange flames creeping up the outside of the building, drawing closer with terrifying speed. The view was surreal, a disaster unfolding in real time, both inside and outside her home. She kept her daughters close, trying to shield them from the worst of the smoke. The girls, just 4 and 5 years old, trusted their mother completely. All 3 huddled together, drawing strength from each other as the fire pressed closer. Rania's voice, steady yet urgent, guided them through every moment, even as panic threatened to overwhelm. Outside, the community was waking up to the disaster. But inside 23F, time was running out. Smoke began to fill the flat, and the temperature rose rapidly. The fire had finally reached their floor. Rania's phone battery was dying, but she continued recording, documenting every desperate plea for help, once the fire department's instructions had been clear: stay put and wait for rescue. But now that advice feels cruel. There was no escape, and the promised help would never come.
Before 1 o'clock on Wednesday morning, an inferno broke out in a tower block in West London.
Outside, the building was a towering inferno. Neighbors watched helplessly as the fire consumed floor after floor. The community was powerless to help, forced to witness the tragedy unfolding above them.
يلا دعونا لا إله إلا الله. ادعونا بالستر إن شاء الله ربنا يحفظنا بحفظه يا رب. يا رب يا الله.
The Grenfell Tower fire claimed 72 lives, including Rania Ibrahim, her daughters Fethia and Hania, and her neighbor Isra. Their story, captured in those final heartbreaking videos, became a symbol of both tragedy and resilience. As the fire's aftermath unfolded, Rania's videos were shared around the world. Her story became part of the Grenfell legacy, a reminder of the very real human cost of bureaucratic failure and neglect. The investigation would later reveal that flammable cladding, cost-cutting measures, and ignored safety warnings had sealed the fate of so many residents. Rania Ibrahim's recording from inside the Grenfell Tower gave the world a rare and devastating glimpse into the desperation of being trapped as smoke thickened and flames climbed higher. Every second of her video carried the weight of countless lives hanging in the balance. This is the legacy of Grenfell, more than just a tragedy. It's a call to action. The voices of Rania Ibrahim and so many others demand that we never forget the cost of inaction, and that we honor their memory by ensuring such a disaster never happens again.
Even as Egypt remains on boil, there is a chilling video footage that has now emerged showing a photographer.
July 8, 2013. Cairo's dawn air was thick with tension just outside the Republican Guard Officers Club. 26-year-old photojournalist Ahmed Samir Assem was positioned with his camera, focused on the rising chaos below. The tension in the city was at a breaking point, and Assem was determined to document every moment. The footage began innocuously. Shaky hands steadied a camera on a distant rooftop. Quickly, the threat became clear. A soldier, armed and alert, came into focus. Assem's camera captured the soldier raising his rifle with deliberate intent. The lens held steady as gunfire erupted, muzzle flashes bright against the morning sky, and despite the danger, Assem continued recording, documenting the unfolding violence with professional composure. Suddenly, the perspective shifted. The camera shook violently. A voice cried out,
"Gabu! They got him!"
The lens dropped, tumbling to the ground. The world through Assem's eyes became a blur of movement and muffled sound. The footage continued briefly, capturing only the aftermath of chaos. The significance of this footage could not be overstated. Ahmed Samir Assem was more than just a journalist. He was a witness to history, capturing the realities of Egypt's political upheaval. Within an hour of the incident, a blood-stained camera and phone were delivered to the media center. The news spread quickly. Assem had been killed by a sniper while documenting the chaos. The Muslim Brotherhood seized upon the footage, presenting it at press conferences as evidence of the military's actions. In those critical 26 seconds, Assem's camera captured more than just his own death. It documented the harsh reality of Egypt's political crisis. The footage, though impossible to independently verify in its entirety, stood as a powerful testament to the dangers faced by those who sought to document truth in dangerous times. UNESCO's Director General condemned Assem's killing, calling for respect for journalists' right to safety. The international community recognized the sacrifice he made in pursuit of the truth. His footage became a symbol of the human cost of documenting conflict, a reminder that every frame captured in war zones carried a heavy price. The aftermath of Assem's death reverberated far beyond Cairo. His footage became a focal point in the ongoing debate about press freedom and the dangers faced by journalists in conflict zones. International organizations condemned the attack, demanding accountability and better protection for journalists. Assem's colleagues mourned the loss of a dedicated professional, while his family grappled with the personal cost of his commitment to the truth.
Indian authorities have released video footage showing the final moments of an international team of climbers before they were swept away in an avalanche. The team had been trying to scale Nanda Devi, one of India's tallest peaks.
It was May 2019, and 8 experienced climbers made their way up a perilous, unnamed Himalayan peak near Nanda Devi, India's second highest mountain. The ascent was slow, but the weather looked clear, and their spirits appeared high. Martin Moran, a seasoned British mountain guide, led this international team. He was well known for running expeditions in the Indian Himalayas. His company, Moran Mountain, had a solid reputation for safety and professionalism. Alongside him were John McLaren, Rupert Whewell, University of York lecturer Richard Payne, U.S. nationals Anthony Sudacum and Ronald Beimel, Australian Ruth McCants, and Indian guide Chetan Pandey. They had originally set out to climb Nanda Devi east, but after establishing base camp, they changed plans, attempting an unclimbed 6,477-meter peak nearby. The route they chose was riskier, less known, and, ultimately, deadly.
In the video, the 7 climbers and their guide are seen roped together while taking steps up a narrow ridge. The screen eventually goes blank.
The last known footage from their GoPro camera captured them roped together, carefully picking their way along a narrow, snowy ridge. Suddenly, the camera view tilted, snow filled the frame, and then blackness. Communication with the group had been lost on May 26th, just a day before heavy snowfall and massive avalanches hit the region. 4 team members who remained at base camp sounded the alarm when their companions failed to return, but by then, the worst had already happened.
Police made the announcement on Twitter Sunday. An eighth person is still missing and presumed dead.
The recovery operation was treacherous. Military helicopters spotted what appeared to be 5 bodies and scattered mountaineering gear, but high winds and dangerous conditions forced them to abort aerial attempts. Eventually, elite paramilitary mountaineers from the Indo-Tibetan Border Police, ITBP, reached the site on foot, finding 7 bodies. Martin Moran remained missing, presumed dead. The ITBP discovered the climber's camera buried in snow at 5,800 meters, near where the bodies were found. The footage now serves as a grim black box, helping investigators analyze what went wrong. Experts believe the group may have fallen from an ice ridge or overhanging snow cornice, possibly dropping the equivalent of 10 stories. The Nanda Devi Sanctuary is one of the toughest climbing regions in the Himalayas, even more challenging than Everest in some respects. Hundreds of climbers visit India each year to attempt its peaks, but few are prepared for the unpredictable dangers these mountains present. The group's decision to attempt an unclimbed peak without proper authorization drew criticism from Indian officials. They knowingly risked their lives after changing their plans without informing the authorities. One official stated, the rescue operation was codenamed Daredevils and took 15 days of grueling effort. The recovery team faced constant avalanche risk, extreme weather, and the stench of decomposition at high altitude. Their courage and determination were later recognized by ITBP leadership. The final camera footage, ending with that sudden thud sound, serves as a stark warning about the unpredictable dangers lurking in these remote peaks. The Nanda Devi tragedy stands as a sobering reminder that even the most experienced climbers are at the mercy of nature's power in the high Himalayas. Their final moments, captured on camera, now serve both as evidence for investigators and as a cautionary tale for future expeditions. But the mountains wait for no one. As the recovery team finally returned from their mission, another group of climbers was preparing for their own challenge, unaware of the dangers that had just claimed 8 lives on those same slopes. The Nanda Devi climbers' recordings told the story of adventure turning into tragedy, as weather and terrain proved stronger than even the most skilled mountaineers. Their final images and videos showed the thin line between triumph and disaster when facing nature's extremes.
These are the chilling final moments of Alina Glazunova before her tragic death.
On September 27, 2024, in Tbilisi, Georgia, Irina Glazunova, a vibrant 24-year-old from Moscow, was capturing the night's energy, singing, dancing, and living in the moment with her friend. Their phones passed back and forth, documenting every laugh, every lyric, every carefree step. The Russian boy band Hunger Boys' hit For the Last Time provided the soundtrack as Irina's night unfolded, seemingly like any other. But that expression on her friend's face said everything. In an instant, everything changed. The music still playing, its upbeat melody now a cruel contrast to what had happened, underscored the tragedy. Hours earlier, Irina had arrived in Georgia to visit friends, her social media filled with excitement. She's known for her infectious energy and bright personality. That wall, just 30 centimeters tall, was all that separated Irina from a 5-meter drop onto concrete stairs. Its very existence, or lack of proper safety barriers, would soon be at the center of a heated debate. Within hours, a spontaneous memorial appeared. Flowers covered the spot where her life ended. Messages, some in Georgian, some in Russian, spoke of loss and remembrance. News of Irina's death spread quickly. The footage, both what she filmed and what her friend captured, circulated online, sparking not just grief, but outrage. How could such a dangerous drop exist in the heart of the city, protected only by a knee-high wall? Locals shared stories of how invisible that barrier could be, especially at night. One social media user summed up the sentiment: anyone could fall over that wall. The city's mayor insisted that underpasses met modern safety standards. But the public was not convinced. The tragedy exposed a dangerous flaw in the city's infrastructure, one that had existed since Soviet times. but now demanded immediate attention. Irina's story became a stark reminder of how a single moment's distraction could have deadly consequences. Her final moments, captured forever, now serve as a haunting reminder that sometimes the things we are not watching for are the ones that change everything. Her funeral was held at Vagankovsky Cemetery in Moscow. Friends and family traveled to Georgia to bring her home. The city finally acted, installing a proper barrier at the site where she fell. A small measure of safety born from tragedy,